Hi. How
Hi.
are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Hi.
Hi.
What's up?
An apple for my teacher.
An apple. Oh my goodness. An apple a day keeps Yama away. Very good. Thank you. Very good. So,
Hanuman Chalisa.
yes. What about it?
I would like to know about the melody, the origin of the melody, if it's prescriptive, if it comes from one of the sacred books, the Vedas, the Rig Veda.
No.
No.
There's all kinds. In India, people make up. There's all kinds of melodies. I mean, because there was no recording in the old days when Tulsidas first sang the Chalisa, nobody knows what he sang, and so people just make up their own melodies, pretty much.
So the second part of my question is about, so how do you find that innate internal harmonization of the melody? How do you find the correct melody for you to sing?
You open your mouth and blow, as Lauren Bacall once said. No, as far as we go these days, people find ways to sing that they enjoy and they can pay attention to and they feel is useful for them. There's no, in Indian music there's all kinds of rules about how you create a song or a raga, or how you perform a particular melody. There's all kinds of rules, but we don't have those rules, so we don't have to worry about them. We're just worried about and concerned with the devotional aspect of it, being able just to sing it and pay attention to it and gradually connect with the deeper place through singing it.
So through the devotional aspect, melody, the correct melody for each individual comes. That's what I'm hearing you say.
I don't know about the word correct, but it's just the melody comes. I mean, I have so many melodies I sing the Chalisa to. I don't know where they came from. I don't know where they're going.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, I sing them.
But I do hear a similarity, a thread in the Chalisas from CD to CD, and from when I've heard you in public singing live on stage. There is something resonant in the melody that I hear in other examples of the Chalisa that you have done, though they do vary, which was my question.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
If you were working with something that originated, but this is all your own devotional connection to the chant, to the mantra, to the bhajan.
Yeah, it helps me
It's beautiful.
express it.
Yeah,
so to
it's
speak,
absolutely
musically.
beautiful.
Yeah, but there's no right or wrong way to sing it. The right or wrong way to sing it would have to do with your intention of singing it and the pronunciation of the words.
See, that's what I need to practice. That's where I think there is great incorrectness if the language isn't articulate.
Yeah, except that the first time I sang it for Maharaja, he stopped me to correct me, and my mind went completely blank. He just said, "Never mind, just sing," and he never corrected me again. So the point was, it was coming from my heart. That was the important part.
Did Maharaji give you this? Was it given to you as a blessing, the Hanuman Chalisa?
Maharaji didn't. Things happened, and then depending on where you sit and where you look at it from, you could say yes or no. He did this, but certainly he created the whole Leela, and I have told many times we used to come to the temple every day, and we would get this little booklet with the flying monkey on it. So I had 100 of them back in my room. But one day I just happened to say, "What is this?" And they said, "It's a prayer to Hanuman." I went, "Really?" And I thought, wow, if we learned this, we could sing it to Maharaja, because we began to understand that his devotees saw him as Hanuman. So we recognized this might be a way to, an avenue into spending more time with him, into getting more connection with him, a deeper connection.
And I don't want to talk too much. I want my friend here to talk. But I did learn something recently this past summer in India about Hanumanji that I didn't know. I think I got some clarity around the auspiciousness of the great Lord Ganesh, but that it is Hanuman, my chanting teacher in India told me this, that it's Hanuman who protects us all.
Well, that's nice. You know,
I thought it was
Ganesh seems to have something to do with it too. Both of them are, Ganesh is Shiva's son, and Hanuman is actually an emanation of Shiva's energy. So they're both connected to Shiva that way. And Maharaj is really, the old devotees actually, they worshipped him as Shiva. Tawari worshipped him as Shiva, and there's these other guys. When it came down to it, that's who they saw him as Shiva himself. So, but also, you know, Hanuman is a form of Shiva. The 11th Rudra, actually, of Shiva manifested.
The what?
The 11th Rudra.
Rudra.
11th form of Shiva. And Hanuman is considered to be Rudratmakaya, which is the soul or the very essence of Shiva.
How auspicious on almost the eve of Shivaratri. Almost the celebration for Shiva. We are almost there.
Oh yeah. Oh
How
yeah.
auspicious for
Shivaratri
you to
soon, right?
speak.
So yeah, what matters is it's not the musical expression, but it's it's the bhavana, or the feeling that you have as you're doing your practices. That's most important.
Thanks.
At least that's my opinion. Other people might disagree. So that's
Feels
their
good.
problem.
It feels good.
Well, that's your
That's
problem. And you?
Well, first, on behalf of the Hanuman Chalisa Daily Chant Group, I'd like to thank you
Yeah,
for the
I
Hanuman
owed
Chalisa.
Ira a favor, so I
It
did.
was awesome.
Good.
And you've beat my sister and I. We got over 5,600 views. But you're way over there, so anyway. So I want to ask about the Hanuman Chalisa and its transformative powers. For me, it's made a huge difference in my life. And I feel that without that song, I wouldn't be where I am today, in such a good space. I didn't get out of bed for a year. I was so depressed, and somehow Maharaji caught a hold of me. And now I chant every day. So have you seen these transformations or miracles happen
I
to
just
other
get
people?
worse and worse as the days go by. I have no idea what's going on. Yeah. Well, Maharaji said over and over again, every line of Hanuman Chalisa is Mahamantra, is the names. And that chanting the Hanuman Chalisa can change fate. So I think that, and in fact, you know, Siddhima once said to someone, where was I? I was in the room with her, and well, maybe she said it to me. She said, see what chanting the Chalisa has brought to you, meaning all this the stuff that happens around me. So, I think, you know, as long as the motivation is pure in terms of that the offering is made out of love, and not to not to get something. I think that's how it goes deeply. It is simply to come into the presence of Hanuman or Maharaji, to I don't think it's necessary to understand the meaning of every word, but I think it's a good idea to have some general idea of what the whys and wherefores of the chant, where it's all praising Hanuman and saying what he did, the things that he accomplished, and how he served Ram, and also that when you're doing it, you can be offering the practice and the mantras to Maharaji directly. You know, deepening that connection. But on the other hand, I don't think it's a good thing to be thinking about all that stuff when you're actually doing it.
Just do it, right?
Just do it, but also there should be an atmosphere around you doing it. It shouldn't be like, oh, the Sopranos starts in 15 minutes, I got to get it done. That's okay, fine, better than not doing, but you're not letting your heart open, you're not letting yourself really get present, you're just trying to get it in, which is a lot of ways people do their practices anyway, which is better than nothing.
Well, if you ever get up at 9 o'clock, you're welcome to join me on the conference call.
Yeah, not likely.
Not likely.
I was going to say, in terms of singing it on a daily basis, for just the practice with not the gain or anything attached to it, is it okay to use the script?
Sure.
Yeah.
To read it, you
I
don't
have
have
to
to
read
memorize
it.
it. No.
I mean, that's how I would ultimately learn it,
Sure.
line by line, but reading
Not
it.
necessary to memorize it, just to do it.
Yeah.
And through the doing of the practices, everything that has to happen for us will happen. Eventually we wake up, little by little, we wake up. So when we do these practices, it's always good to do it inside of Maharaji, so to speak, rather than performing or sharing with other people or promoting or emoting or projecting or whatever else we do as human beings. Practice is most efficacious if it's an offering of our hearts. And what that means to each person will deepen as time goes on by the practice itself. It's not something we have to think about too much. And eventually, real humility will arise, which is all that Hanuman is about, is pure humility. Which means understanding that even though it looks like we're doing this, we're not. It's him within us who's actually doing it to remove the illusion that we think we're doing it. It's just a question of where we're sitting in our lives, how we see our lives, how we see ourselves. That's what changes as practice ripens us. We might at first be very rajasic, I'm doing this, I'm going to do it. But as time goes on, that the doing of it will ripen us to a point, so to speak, where we recognize that Ram is the doer.
Ram is the doer.
Yeah. And it's a nice idea, but it's not possible to understand that in the mind with the thoughts
To
or
understand
emotions.
that Ram is the doer?
Yeah, that for instance, Maharaji, they used to say that he had absolutely no awareness of his own body. In fact, when he got up and walked across the courtyard, it wasn't his own will that was moving him. It was actually Ram that was moving him around, speaking through his body, doing whatever had to be done, that he was only turned towards Ram. He had no sense of being a separate being anymore. He had merged completely with his own will and his own awareness, had nothing, and that's who Hanuman is. That's who Hanuman is. And there's beautiful bhajans about Hanumanji. He jumped over the ocean, he killed the demons, he found Sita, and not once did pride arise in his mind. Did not once the thought that he was doing this. He knew, he could see, he experienced all of it. His jumping, his flying, his seeing, his killing, as all Ram doing. That's how he experienced it from the inside. From the outside, it looks like he's doing it to us. Just like right now, you think you're you think you're you, I think I'm me. Can't avoid that. But as time goes on, our awareness goes deeper, and we begin to see ourselves and the world very differently. but each according to their own karmic flow.
I'm feeling very emotional at the moment, and I'm thinking that, and I already know part of the answer to this, so it's a little rhetorical, and please forgive me for this, but I'm thinking how the world so desperately needs to be open to this particular grace of Hanuman, this idea of humility and coexistence, where the egos are melted away through his grace. And that's my response. You moved me, I'm moved by this.
Well, on the other hand, people have to be who they have to be. Each enlightenment is personal situation for each being. They have to work through their karmas. They have to create suffering for themselves until they reach a point where they recognize what's going on. You can't short circuit a person's life. You can't make people be who you want them to be. But first, if you really can make yourself who you want to be, you won't be thinking like that in the first place, or the second place, whatever place it was.
Yeah.
So, even Maharaji said, somebody said, Baba, the world's so messed up. He said, well, if it has to go this way, let it go. So there's a bigger thing going on here that we're not privy to. All we can do is take care of ourselves and everybody in our life that we come across, do the best we can. And that itself will have a large effect on a lot of things, but that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to do the best we can every moment and to cultivate as much kindness and compassion as we can. And in order to do that, practices are really necessary, like the Hanuman Chalisa practice, japa, there's all things like that. That's why we do them, not to achieve a particular little state of mind that we like and think we could hold on to forever, but to simply actually have the power to overcome our selfish motives and our fear and our clinging and our shames and all our selfish stuff. And then when that's not there, then everybody's part of it and you see it clearly.
So that's the transformational part that my friend Diana here is speaking about.
I guess so.
I think so. I mean, that's how I heard that.
Good.
Yeah.
I would like to share one line from this that seems to mean a lot to me when I can send wishes to other people. San kata kate mite sabapira, jo sumere hanumata balabira. All suffering and pain vanish when one remembers the brave Hanuman.
Yep. So for all people, all sankat, calamities and suffering vanish from the continual remembrance of Hanuman. It just doesn't mean like 5 minutes a day. When you can remember Hanuman 24/7, that's good. Then you're in a different place. And then whatever arises, you no longer experience this pain or suffering. It may be the same thing, but you see it differently. And Hanuman is that being who, or that part of us also, that can kind of remove the rocks from the flow of the river of our lives, even downstream, without us knowing necessarily. We don't have to know. They don't usually advertise, I just removed the rock for you. Because they don't need any pat on the back to do what they do. It's their nature. So, yeah, all those lines, many of those lines in the Chalisa are very powerful. Siddhima pointed out a bunch of them to us once, but I don't remember which ones. So.
I think Hanuman removed a great rock now for me, because here I am. I've been trying to meet you for decades.
Really?
Yes, and I'm always too shy to go up after the kirtans to introduce myself, and I think that you must be uplifted. I don't know. I don't want to project on you,
definitely
but
uplifted. So beyond, I'm just gone beyond. No one can approach me.
I don't know. It's about me, not necessarily about you.
Yeah, that's called a projection.
Yeah, I don't.
Probably I just have to rush off stage to pee, and that's why I'm out of there. You know,
No,
I
you're
had nothing to be
sitting there, and I'm
uplifted.
always debating whether or not I should go say
Yeah,
hi.
right.
So
Well,
it's me. It's my
well,
stuff, not yours.
Glad you got here,
Thank you.
and I don't have to rush off and
No.
pee, so that's very good. Good. Okay.
Yeah, lovely.
Ram Ram.
Yeah.
Ram Ram.
Ram Ram.
Take care.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Guru Charan Saroja Raja Jaman Mukur Sudhari Varno Raghuvar Bimala Jasu Chodaya Palachari Buddhihina Tanu Janike Sumiram Bhavan Kumar Siyaram Balabuddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Kalesa Vikar Siyavara Ramachandra Padaje Sharanam Jaya Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagar Ek Pees Tivum Loka Ujala Ramaduta Atulita Baladhama Anjani Putra Pavana Sutanama Mahavira Vikram Bhajarangi Mati Nivar Sumati Kesangi Kanchana Varana Viraj Subesa Kanana Kundala Kunchita Kesa Om Namo Bhagavate Paramahanandanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Anjani Nandanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Paramahanandanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Anjani Nandanaya At Vajra Dvaja Virade Kande Muj Jane Usaj Shankar Suvan Kesari Nandan Teja Pratapa Mahajagabanda Vidyan Guniyat Chatur Namakaj Karibe Koat Prabhu Charit Sunibe Korasiya Rama Lakshmana Sita Manavasiya Om Namo Bhagavate Paramahanandanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Anjani Nandanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Paramahanandanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Anjani Nandanaya Sukshma Rupa Darsiya Hindaka Kata Rupa Dar Lanka Jara Bhima Rupa Dare Asur Sangare Ramachandra Ke Kaj Samvare Laya Sajivana Lakan Nyai Raghuvira Har Shivar Lai Raghupati Kinhi Bahut Barai Mama Priya Bharatai Samabhai Om Namo Bhagavate Paramahanandanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Anjani Nandanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Paramahanandanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Anjani Nandanaya Sahasbadan Tumaroj Sagavan Sakai Shripati Gandha Lagavan Sanakadika Brahmadi Munisa Narad Sharad Sahita Isa Yamakubera Digapal Jahante Ravi Kovid Kai Sake Kahante Tuma Upakara Sugreva Inkina Rama Milaya Raja Padavina Om Namo Bhagavate Paramahanandanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Anjani Nandanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Paramahanandanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Anjani Nandanaya
करो मंत्र विभीषण मान, लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जान। युग सहस्र जो जन पर पान, लील्यो टाइम दुर्बल जान। प्रभु मुद्रिका मिलिम कमाई, चल दिलांगी गए अचरज नाई। दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे देते। ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते अंजनी नंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते अंजनी नंदनाय। राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे, होत न आज्ञा बिनु पैजारे। सब सुख लाहे तुम्हारी शरण, तुम्हारा चक्का को डरना। आपन तेज समारो आपे, तीनों लोक हांकते कांपे। भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते अंजनी नंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते अंजनी नंदनाय। नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीर। संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम बचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब फर राम तपस्वी राजा, इनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोवे अमित जीवन फल पावे। ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते अंजनी नंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते अंजनी नंदनाय। चारों युग प्रताप तुम्हारा, हे प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियार। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नो निधि के दाता, स्वर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पास, सदा रहो रघुपति के दास। ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते अंजनी नंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते अंजनी नंदनाय। तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुबर पुर जाई, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित्त न डरई, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करे। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलवीरा। ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते अंजनी नंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते अंजनी नंदनाय। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाय। जो सत बार पाठ कर कोई, छुत ही बंदी महासुख होय। जो यह पर हनुमान चालीसा, होया सिद्धि साकी गौरीस। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, कीजे नाथ हृदय महादेव। ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते अंजनी नंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय, ओम नमो भगवते अंजनी नंदनाय। पवन तनय संकट हरण, मंगल मूर्ति रूप सियारा। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसो सुरभूप। सियावर रामचंद्र पद जे शरणम। मंगल मूर्ति मारुत नंदन, सकल मंगल मूल निकंदन। मंगल मूर्ति मारुत नंदन, सकल मंगल मूल निकंदन। ओम नमो भगवते पवमानंदनाय,
Hi. How you doing?
I'm well. How
Good.
about you?
Very good.
So the question in a very short form started off lifetime of depression and anxiety in August, suicide attempt, weeks in the hospital.
This August. Last August. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So October, I had this, the thunderbolt moment, this awakening, the realization of the invincible nature of the universe. And with that came a bit of euphoria, the severing of the ego and the realization that I don't have to pile all this suffering upon myself. And I was so happy until it started to fade. And so the initial question was, how do I keep it going? It's gone now. So the question now is, I no longer have an expectation that bliss should be a part of it, because to me, that's just the initial lure to help a person become in touch. So what do you think is behind the bliss? So once you push that out of the way, what are you going for in practice?
I don't think that the bliss is, what word did you use?
I view it as like a toe in the rope.
No, but it's a glimpse, actually,
Yeah,
of your true nature, of what's underneath the thoughts, the storylines, all the experiences that we have, positive and negative. Underneath that is a basic sense of well-being, that all people, all beings have that. It's in there. It's like a sun that's always shining, but we've got lots of clouds over it. All of us have all kinds of clouds. So, like anything else, you can't hold on to any experience. But if you've been, if you've had a glimpse like that, it doesn't mean that you need to try to recreate that, but you just need to remember, which means to uncover it inside of yourself. And basically that means just trying to get through the day in a good way, without hurting yourself or hurting others. You don't want to drive yourself more crazy by trying to hold on to something that happened. It's like trying to hold on to a movie that's over. But the movie showed you something. And it's not really something outside of you at all. It's actually what's looking through your eyes all the time. All the time. Even when you're not looking, it's looking. When you're not paying attention, you're here. And you kill yourself, the body might be gone, but you'll still be here.
I know. That's pretty much why.
Which is what Maharaji said to me when I was going to kill myself. Yeah, what are you going to do, jump in the river? And he laughed. The river was 6 inches deep. But I figured if I got my head under this rock, I could probably figure out a way to stay long enough to kill myself. He said, you can't die. Worldly people don't die. Only Jesus died the real death. Here, I'm sitting in a Hanuman temple in the Himalayas and he's talking about Jesus. Why? Because he never thought of himself. Thoughts of me never arose in that being, because he had no personal agenda left. He'd completely merged with the universe. Now, there's the rest of us. All we do is think about ourselves. We tell our stories about ourselves that we don't like, and we go spinning away and spinning and spinning and spinning. Now, you can't stop those stories. There's no button to push. But you can practice being aware again and again of what's going on. And being aware is different than being caught. Even though you may still be feeling the sting of the negative stories and the unhappiness and the anger and the betrayal and the abuse and all that. Being aware is just a little bit different. It's a lot different, actually. But once again, you can't hold on to that awareness.
Yeah.
But you can remember, look, again and again. And that's what that's what a spiritual practice is. It's remembering to look. So that's the deal. So it's so hard for us not to have expectations, like imagining, it's always going to be like this. But it isn't always going to hurt. We're always going to be here. But it's not going to always hurt. Because in there is no pain. Very important thing. There's a really cool book called Going on Being by a Buddhist psychiatrist, Mark Epstein.
Okay.
Very cool. And in it, he revisits the enlightenment experience of Buddha. And he says Buddha was living under a tree, and he had tried every possible way to free himself and to attain what he knew he could be attained. And he tried all the practices that were available in that time. He had seen all the teachers who had anything to offer, and he had completed their practices, realized what they were, and still it wasn't what he knew he could find. He knew there was something else, right? And he was at the end of his rope because he was starving himself to death, essentially. You could see his ribs popping out of his skin. He was maybe taking 5 breaths a day. I mean, he was doing everything, all this fierce tapasya. And he was feeling tremendous despair. Really. I mean, we haven't done fuck all, and we're feeling despair. This guy did everything that could be done, and it wasn't enough. Yeah. So he was like, right? Imagine. Yeah. So he just sat down under the tree and he said, what is this? And while he was sitting there, he had a memory came to him of when he was a kid, also sitting under a tree, watching his father work in the field in the distance. And he remembered the feeling he had as a kid while he was sitting under that tree. It was this wonderful, warm feeling of okayness. Simple. No lights shining and flashing. No huge ecstasies. Just this feeling of okayness, right? And when he felt that sitting there now as an adult, he got scared. Because he wasn't used to feeling any pleasant experience, right? He was crushing all those and crushing every, and now here's this thing. So being Buddha, he said, okay, what is this? And he looked at the feeling, and he recognized that the feeling wasn't caused by anything. It wasn't caused by the senses meeting any kind of objects that were pleasant, nor was it caused by the senses separating from objects that are pleasant. It just was there. So he said, if it had no cause, then it must be natural. There's no cause. So it must be the way things are. So then he thought, okay, maybe it's through this feeling that the path to enlightenment lies. And just then a woman walks by with some yogurt or something, and he says, maybe I should eat something. He puts it in, she feeds him. First thing that happened is disciples left him. They'd been sitting there waiting for him to be enlightened so they could get a hit. And they said, this guy's left the path, let's get out of here. And he just sat there. He said, I'm not getting up. And he went right through the feeling of okayness that lived inside of him. So where is that feeling in us? We lost it. We don't have a fucking clue. Let's find it.
Okay, how?
That's the deal. How? Live.
It hasn't worked up to this point.
Well, we haven't had this conversation before.
True.
So what's happened to this point is that you've had reactions to things that arose in your mind. Mostly painful, mostly anger, mostly fear, mostly all kinds of things like that. So let's just say that you no longer react like that when these things arise. What's changed? The things may arise because they come from the past. But what's changed is that in this moment, You give them the space to be there, and you watch them as they leave. And you don't push away or cling to. That's where we make more karma. That's where we give them more energy. That's where we hurt ourselves by pushing away and holding on to. So this is really hard to do. And it's hard to remember. Meditation is not about feeling good. It's not about avoiding pain. It's about allowing whatever comes to come and allowing it to go and allowing it to come. And not flipping out that it's not what we want it to be.
Okay.
So you just, be kind to yourself.
It's hard.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. There's nowhere to go. There's nobody else you'll ever be except you. This life. So be kind to yourself. Give yourself a break. And if you can, look at the reasons why. Try to see where you learn to be so hard on yourself. Try to watch as it arises. And try to watch as it goes away, because nothing's here forever. So.
Is that what you did when you were in that state? How did you pull yourself out of the mud? Just practice.
Maharaji saved me. Yeah.
I need a little bit of that, man.
Yeah, well, we're here. This is not nothing. Yeah, I was going down into a black hole. With my eyes open, there was a slow motion charcoal gray black whirlpool opening on the floor in front of me, and I was going down into it, and I had no vote. Somebody came to the door and said, "Krishnadas." "What?" He said, "Maharaji's calling." "Okay." So I got up and I went down and I had a whole nervous breakdown in his lap. Many years later, the guy says to me, "Did I ever tell you what Maharaji said to me that day?" And I said, "No." He said, "Quick, go find Krishnadas before he kills himself." I was going down. He saved me. So, but that doesn't mean that it was all fun and games. That was 1972, and believe me, there's been a lot of rough times. But we're still here. You're always here. And the least damage we can do it to ourselves, the better it is. But sometimes we don't get a vote. But my book, Chants of a Lifetime, you ever read that?
Not yet.
We don't have one here. We'll send one to you. It's Kevin Amelia's. But I wanted to call it a failed life. The idea being I failed at everything else. I even failed at killing myself. So this is,
I know, right?
what good am I, right?
Yeah.
So that was the idea. Nobody liked it.
It's true. It's true, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Take care of yourself, okay? What's your name?
Holly.
Holly, that's right.
Yes.
Holly. Yeah, come. You live in the city?
I live in Maine.
You live in Maine, Portland?
Actually, just north of that, Yarmouth.
So what do you do up in Maine except live all alone and give yourself a hard time?
Software analyst so far.
Software analyst?
I've been a software analyst for 18 years, but it's so empty that after this experience, I've realized that I need to help people like I've been helped.
That's good.
So I'm thinking about social work or art therapy or something like that.
Cool.
Because I need to give. Can't just
Yeah. What did Maharaji tell us? We said, "Baba, how can we find God?" He said, serve people. He didn't say meditate. He didn't say do 1,000,000 rounds of japa, meditate. He said, think about other people.
That's the only thing that's really important right now for me.
It is, sure. First of all, when you think about somebody else, you're not thinking about yourself.
Exactly.
So that's a whole fucking vacation in itself.
Yeah.
And then it also, you begin to see how much everybody's suffering. And then you don't feel so alone. And then you begin to see how much more aware of all the issues about the suffering you are than most people. And that gives you a sense of confidence that even though you're suffering and you're in pain and etc., etc., you're here in some way inside of it all that most people aren't. You know, you might get to a chance where you actually get a vote over how you go through your day. It's a really big thing.
That would be nice and extraordinary.
Well, first you have to register.
So clever.
Yeah, good to meet you.
You
Keep
too.
in touch, okay? I mean it. Keep in touch.
I will.
Yeah. Give us your mailing address, and I'll send you the book.
Okay.
And Going on Being, Mark Epstein.
Epstein. Okay.
Mark Epstein. Yeah, Going on Being, and we'll try to write it. If you email, give me an email too. No, I promise I won't stalk you.
Stalking is fine. I got nothing interesting going on.
Ah, that's what you say.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Take care. Huh?
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe. 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 Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe. 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 Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe. 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 Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Govinda Radhe Gopala Radhe. Govinda Radhe Gopala Radhe. Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe. Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe. Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. da